Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel for another disc golf video. Today we are going to be at FDR State Park, which is in Yorktown Heights, New York. We're going to be starting off, as you do, on hole 1. It's a 295-foot, slightly downhill, either a wide open forehand to the left side, which I normally take, but there's a pretty significant right to left wind, and I was afraid of either flipping over my driver or getting it smashed down by the wind. So I go with the straight to fade out stable fairway driver. That's a Neo Instinct. It's like a staple of my bag now. It's my go-to disc. It's just a really comfortable disc in the hand. It's easy to throw. If you give it a lot of power, you can get a little wiggle out of it. But a pretty routine shot. Left it a little bit right and short, but I've got about a 20-ish footer for a birdie, and that's a pretty routine putt. So happy to come away with a birdie on hole 1. It's a good it's a good hole to set the pace of the round. You know, the first couple holes here are not that challenging, but they're not exactly gimmies. But I would say hole 1 is, I don't want to put it in the category of must get, because there's a lot of gettable holes out here, but that one definitely feels good to start off your round with a birdie. So we got hole 2 here. It's a slightly uphill. Give it just about everything you got, for me at least. I'm throwing a Champion Destroyer here. It's the more overstable of the two I was deciding between. And I kind of threw it like perfect, but it gets a little wind lift and it goes a little long, kicks off a tree. Doesn't quite get the fade out that I was hoping for. So I've got this obstructed footing, obstructed view putt. I'm just trying, it's a pretty steep drop off past the basket, so I'm just trying to loft it enough so that it comes in perfectly flat and won't stand up and roll down that hill, because it's actually out of bounds down there where those rocks are. So just like I planned, doesn't really go anywhere. That's a par. No complaints there. I didn't end up out of bounds. It was a good shot. Great looking hole. I love these trees, man. This part of New York looks so good right now in the fall. Hole 3. It's a relatively short-ish par 3. I'm deciding between either a 2020 Sexton Firebird or that same Instinct. Now that we're kind of in the woods here, the wind isn't going to affect my disc so much, so I go with the Instinct just because I feel a bit more comfortable, and I do need a slight flip up to get around it, because the way this slopes down from left to right, it's naturally going to carry right. So I just want to keep this one nice and low and flat and let it carry to the basket, but I kind of throw it up to the heavens there, hit nothing, and just fade out real early to the right. I'm left with about, I don't know, like 80 feet maybe, 70, 80 feet. Just a little pitch up with a putter. I'm not really like trying to make it, but I just want to make sure it's near the basket for an easy 3. I'd love to make that, but it's just really not something I'm willing to try to run. And like I said, it's a bit sloped, so I'm a little, in my head, worried about it standing up and rolling back down the hill towards me. And then, in which case, it might be bogey at best if I don't make the next putt. So, pretty routine 3 on that one. Now we're looking at hole 4. Hole 4 is a really cool hole, the first par 4 out here. The initial landing zone is just, I'm throwing a mid-range because I just want, it's my most overstable rock 3 that I have in the bag. I just want something to get through this initial gap and fade left, but it comes out early and just lands in the middle of all the stuff. This is a fine spot to be in to be able to at least save par. All I have to do is hit this next gap, and I'm 0 for 2 on hitting gaps. But I got really lucky and kicked way left, so now I have a fairly open look for my third shot here. Alright, so for my third shot here, in the hand I have a 300 plastic Chris Dickerson PA3. It's still newer to my bag. I'm kind of still learning it, but the objective here is just give it a bit of anhyzer because it's still a little overstable, and have it kind of float down to the basket, but I don't really give it enough, and it flies right over the pin and goes maybe 35 long. So I'm left with this putt here. It's definitely makeable, um, but it's a bit obstructed by that tree, so I kind of have to go to the left here. It's my right of the basket, but it doesn't hyzer enough. So walking away with our first bogey there. Couldn't really execute on the first two shots, so it's what I deserve. Alright, on to hole number 5. This is either a understable mid-range or an understable putter. It's a pretty left to right sweeping shot. You could throw a forehand, but I don't like how quickly an overstable disc will dump to the right. So I'm electing for the P Model S. Just kind of rip it pretty hard and hope it turns over enough, but I dink that tree and pop out to the right.
So close.
I was about 2 inches from nailing the line and having it float down to this pit here. The basket sits up on this little mound, so it's kind of tough to really run something. I'm afraid to either hit it too pointed on an angle and have it roll away, or miss the mound short and then have it land at the bottom. And the uphill putt it's like a 15-foot elevation change, so it's not exactly the easiest putt in the world. But my pig settles nicely in the mound there, and we walk away with a par. Hole number 6, another par 3. The picture there shows like there's 2 ways to go, but I don't trust this right side like backhand route, because there's trees and you can kick to the right, and that stuff is not great. I mean, if you go too straight or kick a tree on the left here, you pretty much, it's like bogey at worst. You can get to the basket, but if you kick to the right, who knows where you end up. So I've just got the 2019 National Tour champion Calvin Heimberg destroyer, very overstable destroyer. And I just kind of nail the gap flat, get up to this tree. This is about 15, 18 feet away. So I left myself with a pretty routine short putt. A little weird footing with that tree. I don't know why I'm standing like that. I hate looking at what I'm looking at right now, but pretty easy putt. We make it. We got an easy bird there. Move on to the next hole. Speaking of birds, actually, going to the next hole is interesting, to say the least.
Slight detour. There is some large bird of prey eating something, and the next tee pad is right there. So I don't know what to do. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. And birds aren't dumb, so I feel like if I try to make them go away, they'll remember me. What's up, bro? You chilling? Are you gonna leave if I walk a few more steps? Or are you gonna leave scratches all over my face? Okay. I can go up and around him. That is definitely an option. Okay, let's go up here. All right, now I'm back by number 4's basket. And number 7's tee is right there. So this should be fine. I don't think I'll be disturbing him. Alright, well I made it. He's chilling there. Tee pad's here. Shot goes that way. Alright, buddy. I'm gonna throw now.
Alright, so after that little debacle, we're on to hole 7. This is another pretty big left to right, either a forehand or a turnover. This one you need to dump early, so I'm going with the instinct, give it a bit of hyzer to carry the distance, and it almost goes in.
You're good luck, John.
I missed maybe a few feet long. That's why I guess it skipped here and got to this tree. So I've got kind of a longer comeback putt, but man, that looked good from the tee. I genuinely thought it was going in up until it didn't, really. And that hurts. That hurts because, you know, I thought that bird really helped me. But turns out he was a big faker, and I missed the putt. And it's actually all his fault. So he's not my good luck charm anymore. I take back everything I said. Hole 8. We've got a pretty straight shot. So I'm going with my most overstable mid-range in the bag. This is a Rock 3. It's like a 2017 US DGC Glow Rock. I don't know, I got it on some auction, but it's a great disc because it doesn't flip over. It stays nice and flat, and then it just reliably fades left. And this one, every driver I have in the bag will fade out too much, and I don't think a putter will get there. So this disc is pretty perfect, and from the tee it looked like this was also gonna go in, but I think it came in just a bit short and kind of got some skip off the leaves there. But this is about a 12 footer, so that's a no doubter for me. Even for me, 12 feet, who would have knew? So pretty routine, not much to talk about there. Throw the shot, make the putt, easy peasy. On to hole number 9. Hole 9 is a par 4. It's one of those hit the gap and then you have an easy shot, basically. So I've got the Neo Essence in hand, and I'm just trying to rip it on hyzer and let it flip over. But boy, do I cut it close. I make it through the gap in the trees somehow. I get out there. This is actually one of the better shots I've ever had on this hole, but I got lucky because there's some trouble if you hit those trees and don't make it out the gap. Pretty routine upshot. This also almost goes in. A bit short and long at the same time. I guess low is a better word for it, not short. And the pig kind of skips a bit far here, so we're left with a like edge of circle putt, 20-something feet. And I don't hit anything, so that's, you know, not good. I hate straddle putting sometimes, at least from distance. It was just too awkward to stand in my normal staggered stance. But, yeah, I just feel like I can't really get the accuracy and the power sometimes, especially on longer putts. But moving on, because we got the par, it's not too bad. Moving on, we have one of the start of the longer section here. This is a par 4. I've got the 2020 Heimberg Destroyer in the hand, and this one's not as overstable as the other ones I have, so I'm just trying to throw it over the OB, nowhere near that power pole, and have it hyzer out at the end. And it's pretty perfect. That's probably the furthest drive I've had on this hole. This one has caused me a lot of problems in the past, specifically this shot right here. But that drive, I've lost some discs in that stuff on the right. So now, this shot, I cannot tell you how much I hate this shot. I'm always in between discs. Look how indecisive I am. So I side with the PA3, and I'm going to tell you straight up, this is not the right disc for this. I have to give it more anhyzer here. I'm aiming for this gap right here on the right side. And I can't even express to you with words how disappointed I am with myself for A, choosing this disc, and having an early release. I'm annoyed. It just comes out so straight, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to throw on this shot. It's just the hole that gives me the most trouble here. Actually, that's not true. 4 gives me the most trouble, but that shot is the most annoying shot on this course. But I mean, it's an open spot. I have a look, but this is not an easy putt downhill, and it's pretty far. This is like, I don't know, 40, 50 feet maybe. So I just loft up one of the old slow mez P-line P2s and hope it goes in. But You know, once again, we don't go too far. It's an easy par that rhymed. Let's move on because I'm sick of looking at that shot, man. Just editing and, you know, now recording this, I can't. I don't. That shot pisses me off so much. All right, hole 11. This is a cool hole. If you got like a power hyzer forehand, you can chip it up there on that big open gap on the left. But my essence has since been beaten to hell, so I'm gonna rip this in that wide open gap there. The wind was kind of playing games with me here, so I step out into more of the open to get a feel for it. It was kind of pushing a little bit heady, a little bit left to right, so I want to give the essence a little bit of anhyzer to make sure it really flips over and gets there. And I nick something right there. That kind of slows it down, but it doesn't matter because, yeah, as you can see, we're pretty much parked. It's about a, I don't know, 9 foot putt. And yeah, I almost missed, but I mean, it went in, so that's another birdie. And birdies are good, so we're definitely not going to complain. Moving on to hole number 12. Now, if you see in the distance there, right past my body as I walk up here, there's a couple people down there playing with a dog. But I watched them for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, and I kept waving at them, and they just refused to acknowledge me, so I just threw. And it's going to look like I aim for them, but it's just a late release, I promise. So that one gets through the trees there. Nice overstable champion destroyer. I get a good distance off it. This is like a little bit of a ditch here, and I'm a little more right than I would like to be. But this is a very serviceable landing spot. So I'm going with the, this is a Neo Instinct, the same one I've been throwing all over the place. I just want to give it enough anhyzer so it will ride the line. But the disc, it's overstable enough to come out of it and get up near the basket. But I think I maybe didn't give it enough power or gave it too much anhyzer because I'm just to the right of this tree here. And I've got that long obstructed-ish putt. But that's a hole that can give you a lot of problems if you don't execute. So I'm pretty okay with a par. Moving on to hole 13 here. This is pretty routine. Both locations are pretty routine. And I don't know if you noticed on that tee sign, but some of the yellow and white basket locations are backwards. But I assure you, according to UDisc, I'm going to the correct ones, at least. And according to the basket color also. But anyway, this one's, there's really not much to talk about. It's just like, it's just the most routine, overstable fairway driver shot you can draw up. And I think it almost went in. It looked really good from where I was. As you can see, I did my little happy bend over thing. We're just left with a pretty routine, like 10-foot putt. So we're going to make that, move on to hole 14 with another birdie under our belt. 4 under, pretty respectable going into the last few holes here. Hole 14, we have the Tour Series Greg Barsby Eagle in hand. I really like this disc. It kind of feels like the Instinct and a T-Bird had a baby, if that makes sense. It's got nice stability to it, but it has a nice reliable fade. This one, you're just trying to push those trees that you could see dead straight and just let the stability of the disc fade left. Pretty routine, flat to fade shot, and then easy putt. No problems on hole 14. A little bit of story time for you guys on hole 15. I threw the shot. You know, I finished the round. I get in my car and I check all the footage just to make sure nothing's messed up. But as I'm showing you here, the Paul Macbeth prototype Hades, it stays focused on where I had the disc. So we're not actually going to see the shot at all. And I'm really upset about that because this is easily the best shot I've ever thrown on like any hole. 365 feet to the pin, and I hyzer flip it perfectly. It hugs the left, flips over perfect, hugs the right, misses the low ceiling, misses the bush.
I think it's actually up there. So this is my lie.
And yeah, that's got me pretty upset because that was a really good shot, and I wanted to see the footage on that. I got in my car. It was the first one that I watched because I've never thrown that good of a shot. I mean, 365 for me, that's like pretty much the edge of my range. And that's a tight shot. It's a low ceiling. You got to hug the left, flip it, hug the right. Missed two pretty big bushes, and I nailed it. So it's unfortunate that no one gets to see that. So here we're now on to hole 16. This is like the resident bad hole on the course. I'm like between discs all the time on this one. I go with the pig, and I nailed this right gap here, which feels pretty good because I don't like this hole at all. It's just like, it's lazy, you know? There's just a bunch of trees, and they were just like, let's throw the worst hole ever right in the middle of this little forest. But I squeeze it through that gap. We get real skinny there, and I park it. Another easy routine putt, and I think that's 4 birdies in a row now, which is awesome. That's a good link together. I'm not usually a streaky player, but yeah, that feels really good to link together a nice amount of birdies like that. Hole 17 is 270 feet to the basket. It plays a bit uphill, so it's probably like, it feels more like 300 feet. I've got a Glow Huck Lab stamped T-Bird 3. And we just kind of rip it flat, let the ground skip it up to the basket. And we're parked for the 5th birdie in a row. Hole 18, last hole of the day. That sign is a bit weird. I don't know, actually, the distance to the basket on this one. That tree that's straight out in the middle of the field there, it's right behind it. And it takes a full mash from me, so I would say it's probably like 340, 350. It feels slightly uphill, and the wind and the slope of the grass here always pushes it left. So you really got to get over on something. So once again, throwing the Hades, and it just doesn't quite get over, and the wind is also pushing it down. But we do get out there. We get almost pin high here, past that tree, which is the biggest part, and not faded too far down the hill. So I'm definitely not upset with this lie. The wind was still coming here, playing tricks with me. I give it a little test with the grass, and it goes nowhere. So I feel safe to toss one up there and hopefully hyzer it nice into the basket. I wanted to make sure I got it right, and I got it nice and high. And unfortunately, that one just doesn't quite hyzer out the way I'd hoped. But pretty respectable round. I'm really happy with how I played.
In the car now. My phone almost died as I finished up on hole 18. It's a pretty good round. I'm really happy with that. I don't know if it's my best round here, but it's definitely... I mean, only one bogey on hole 4. I don't think there were any really other memorable bad moments or mistakes, but I'm happy with it. I had fun. I'm gonna go home now. I got an hour drive home. My back hurts. I think I'm gonna get some pizza. Get some pizza.